Welcome to the four-way test speech contest. This year, as every year, we have 5 students that are competing for $3,500 in prizes. A committee has put this on and put it together, and they enjoy doing it. They enjoy working together to get it done. So I'm going to let you talk to my successor, Una Martone, and she'll tell you what's going to happen next.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ken. And good afternoon, everyone. It's so great to see you all here this afternoon, and welcome to all the parents and the guests who are here to cheer on their students. I have to say, with all due respect to all of the speakers so far at this district conference, the four-way test speech contest is my favorite part of the entire weekend. All right. All right, so thank you for being here, as I said, and I want to really extend a heartfelt thank you to Ken Roberts and past District Governor Ken Roberts and his wife Jenny, who have taken this four-way test speech contest to a position today where it runs flawlessly throughout our district. The effort and the hard work that they have put in for years has made it a seamless transition for me and to take that moving forward. So let's hear a great thank you for Ken and Jenny. Also, of course, a big shout out to Melissa. I'm not sure if she's in the room. She helps a great deal as well. Thank you to all of the hosts who have been involved with the mid-level speech contest. We appreciate your involvement as well. How many clubs represented here do the four-way test speech contest in your club? Oh, music for that. Okay, great. Well, the good news is that we have room for more clubs to participate. So maybe after today, when you get a taste of the excitement of the four-way test, your club might decide to participate next year. I want to share with you just a little piece of history on the four-way test, a little piece of process within our district. We'll talk about the value of the four-way test speech contest, and then, without further ado, the contestants will be up here to share their speeches with you. The four-way test speech contest was developed by Rotarian Herbert Taylor. He developed this in 1932 as a business proposition. His business was failing, and he needed something to get the whole team on board. So he created the four-way test for business. He later became president of Rotary International, and Rotary International adopted the four-way test in 1943. These 24 little words have been translated into 100 languages and published in thousands of ways. And it always just stops me in my tracks when I think 1.2 million Rotarians around the world know these 24 words, and 1.2 million Rotarians use these 24 words as a value that guides what we think, say, and do. So the four-way test is for the speech contest is for 10th, 11th, and 12th graders throughout our 7-county District 7390. In September and October, students compete at a club level with all the clubs that participate. In November and December, they compete at 5 mid-level competitions throughout our district. The speeches must be between 5 to 8 minutes in length, and they are judged on the content of the speech, their delivery of the speech, and how well that speech integrates the four-way test throughout the entire speech. There are prizes: $1,500 for first place, $1,000 for second place, $500 for third, and $250 each for fourth and fifth places. In my opinion, everyone's a winner because they are really learning a value that these students are learning a value that they can keep with them for the rest of their lives. So I'd like to ask District Governor nominee Patty Rooney to talk about how this test plays out as a value for the students. Patty?
Thank you, Una. Asking what the value is for a program like this seems almost redundant. Clearly, it has a value for the individuals who are participating. They are learning something, they are growing, they are practicing their public speaking, and it doesn't matter what sort of business one ends up in. At some point, we are all going to have to do some sort of public speaking somewhere, sometime, somehow. So they are learning how to practice that skill and to speak to issues that are important to them, because, as you well know, we are going to be talking about the four-way test and how, as Una said, the issues that they're dealing with in their own lives integrate with our four-way test, and that's the critical piece. So they are also learning values then, which are important to them as individuals. What's the value for the club? The clubs who participate in this program really learn other ways to interact with the students. Most of our clubs do Student of the Month. Most of our clubs do other programs to support young people. But this is a particular way in which they can engage with those young people in a unique and special way. And so, again, I think there's a value to the clubs because they also then are learning more about the students. They're learning more about the process by which our district operates. They're learning how to share their resources with young people. And what's the value for the community? Well, clearly for the future. Those individuals, these young people, are going to be able to hopefully make a contribution. We've heard some young people today speak to us. We had Samantha speak to us earlier on about Milton Hershey, a winner of this contest. We've had folks participate with us in so many different ways. And you heard Keziah and you saw Yusra, because these are individuals who are already making a contribution and will continue to make contributions long after most of us in this room are no longer here. That's the contribution they make to the community. That's the contribution they make to the world. That's the important part of what we do. We are passing our legacy on to them, and they will make a difference in their communities and in the world. So does this program make a difference? It does. It makes a difference to the community. It makes a difference to the clubs. It makes a difference to the individuals who participate. So I'm glad that you're here to support our young people. I think we're going to be, again, as Una says, impressed, because this is also one of my favorite parts of this particular conference. So enjoy our young people today as they speak to us about the four-way test.
Thank you, Patty. As was mentioned in the lunchroom, if you were in there, we ask that you don't leave this room during the speeches. So please stay put to not create distractions for the students as they're speaking. And once the 5 students say their speeches, we will have a special presentation in the interim while our judges leave this room to deliberate on the winners. So Patty, without further ado, if we have our first student mic'd up, let the games begin.
I remember in 7th grade, I was scared to wait for the school bus in fear of being robbed. I vividly remember in 9th grade, I was frightened to walk home from school in fear of losing my life. Every single year, 1.2 million students drop out of public school. On average, that's about 7,000 students a day. We must do more for these students living in these communities within the public schools. I grew up in poverty. Growing up, I've witnessed gang violence, drug addiction, alcoholism, but worst of all, hopelessness. Today, I speak on behalf of every single student who's come from similar places where I've come from or believe that their education wasn't important. When I return home, I visit my city streets. I walk through them, and I see teenage gang members on the corner, and I realize that could have been me. See, we come from the same place and deal with similar struggles, but there's one very small but very distinctive difference. I was awarded an opportunity to go to Milton Hershey School. Milton Hershey School is not just a school, it's a community. It has people put in this community that show that they care, to give me that push that allowed me to thrive and succeed. Unfortunately, in a lot of these communities where these public schools are at, there environment is so catastrophic, they believe that they cannot make it out. In our country, the way we're dealing with this problem is all wrong. We're placing a Band-Aid over a scar. We don't actually fix the root of the public school issue. These schools don't need any more funds. They don't need money. We need people invested in these communities to make them better. Public schooling doesn't need any more funds. We need people to motivate and educate the youth to help them become something bigger than an alcoholic. We need people to show these students that they care, to help them become something better than a gang member. I say this for that 10-year-old boy that has to walk home from school and see drugs on his corner. I say this for that 14-year-old girl that has to see gang violence in her community and have them people tell her that her education doesn't matter. A lot of these kids living in this environment believe they cannot make it out. I know I did. Growing up, I had no dreams or aspirations to become anything in life. I was stuck, trapped in a box. It wasn't until Milton Hershey School gave me that push that I needed that allowed me to thrive. Now here I stand before you, an accomplished senior with dreams of going to Duquesne University to become a corporate attorney. It wasn't until community involvement allowed me to succeed. And that's what these kids need. We are all products of our environment. So if we change the environment, we change the product. As I'm writing this, I ask myself, is it the truth? And is it fair? It is definitely the truth because I lived it. I know what it feels like to feel stuck in a box. I know what it feels like to feel hopeless in your environment that you will not make it out. But it's not fair. It is not fair that these children are living in a cycle of poverty. It is not fair that when you're living in these communities, your life expectancy rate is dropped dramatically. It is not fair that these kids are living in a cycle of poverty, which states that if you were born in poverty, there's an 85% chance you will be an adult in poverty. The key to breaking this cycle is simple. It's education. But it's hard for these students to get their education when the environment itself is against them. We need people placed in these communities to build goodwill and better friendships. And in doing so, these students will become a success story. I am living proof that a kid born in poverty can become something great. That's if you change the environment. We need community centers in these situations to help kids realize their potential. And when I become successful, I'm going to do to these communities what Milton Hershey School did for me. I'm going to go back and make a difference. Go back and make a change. Even if it's just one kid. Even if I help one kid realize their potential. Because that one kid can go on and affect millions. So I challenge each and every single one of you. Go to these communities. Look in their eyes. Feel their pain. They are just like me. There's no difference. They're just stuck in a hectic environment and they have no way or no outlet to make it out. We need people like you, all of you in this room, to make a difference and help kids living in these situations. Because these students may only make up 35% of the total population, but they're 100% of our future. And it's our duty to make a change and to do it fast. Thank you.
Yeah,